Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Let's Talk. And tonight, I have a very special guest. She's a law student. I'm not sure where exactly she studies law, but she is a law student. She just did her exams, and she's been very vocal. A new person or a new Twitter person, Twitter. I don't know what the word is, but someone who's new to Twitter and has been very vocal as of late. And she is a young individual, which is always exciting to see young individuals voicing their opinions on the political climate that is today. And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, she is a Dee Martin. By the way, you can follow her on Twitter. I have left a link in the description. And before I I get into anything right now, Dee, if you don't mind, I have to mention this now because I don't know if you know there's a
Okay.
challenge that I've issued.
Oh, right. Yes, you told me.
Yes. So I have to now because even though I don't want to do this, like people need to understand I don't want to do this, but I want to increase my subscribers. So I've issued a challenge. Get me to 5K subs before the 16th of August, and I will get a tattoo of my viewers and subscribers' choice. The link for further details is in the description as well. I have put all the details on my website. So, okay, now that that's out of the way, Dee, how are you doing?
I'm okay. Like I said, I'm just a little bit annoyed with ESCOM and this country as a whole, but I'm sure I'll survive. How about you?
Well, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I mean, I can't, I can't
We
argue
all
that
are.
one. Okay, so tell us a bit about yourself. Whatever it is you're willing to tell us. I mean, so you study law. What are you studying? Like, how far are you in law, and like, what's your major in law?
So I'm in my third year.
Hmm.
So it's just this year and then next year, then I'm finished, hopefully. I don't exactly have a major because that's not really how legal studies work right now. But in terms of in which field I want to go into, I haven't really made up my mind yet, to be honest, because there's something about every field of law that fascinates me. So criminal law, maybe corporate law, I'm not really sure. Maybe even family law, I'm not really sure. There's something about every field of law that puts me off, something about it that attracts me. So I'll have to see closer to the time when I'm done. Other than law, though, I don't really know what there is to tell. I mean, I think law takes up half of my personality, to be honest, which makes me sound kind of boring. But I am from the West Coast, so I'm a very small town rural girl. That's really basically all there is to me. Like people don't understand this, but I'm quite boring. Honestly, all I care about is law, politics, my family, Christianity. That's pretty much all there is to me.
Awesome. All right, so I'm just gonna every now and again I might just address the comments, ladies and gentlemen. If you do want to ask Dee a question, don't be shy. This is a very open discussion. DYL says, "Let's go." I think this is your boyfriend in Inside Digital. Am I mistaken?
Yes, that is Justin. Yeah.
Yes, Justin. Hi there. Supporting.
You can just call him Justin. You don't have to say
Okay.
that thing you can't say.
um, yeah, super keen says Teddy Frazier, and then we have Shernay who's saying, "Hey, you, go D from Teddy," and yeah, everyone's saying hi. How are you? Yanni is in the chat. Awesome. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you all so much for joining us. All right, so we're gonna talk about something quite interesting tonight, and let me just put a bit of a context here. So oh, I think about a week ago, was it? I think I saw a tweet where I saw an argument happening on Twitter, which basically this one guy was saying if you're not in an interracial relationship, so if you're not in a mixed relationship, right, white on black, black on colored, whatever the case, um, then you are racist. Like that's what this guy is saying, right? So then the person he was arguing with said, okay, but then what if it's black on black? You know, does that mean those black people are racist? And then he's like, no, no, no. Sometimes people have preferences, so that's okay. So it's like how there's like a very I don't know.
It's impossible to explain because how can you have double standards for different races like that? How do you not realize that that is racist? Blows my mind. It drives me insane. I cannot handle these people. They are crazy. They are batshit insane.
Oh man, it is like I don't remember the entire conversation. All I know is they started talking about preferences. So, like for example, if you
Yeah,
some people may not like blonde, some people may like petite girls, some people like other types of women. Same with women. Some women like guys with a beard, or sometimes yes, there is this preference where some women from whatever race only want to date certain races. That doesn't make them racist. They just have a preference. And I think
exactly.
the main important thing here is like we have to remember that we come from different cultures. So I
Yeah,
think it's more of a culture thing than it is racist. People from different cultures want to be involved with somewhat, like for example, okay, so for example, you and I, we're both in interracial relationships, right? You're dating a white guy, I think, right?
mm-hmm,
And I'm dating a white woman, or I'm
mm-hmm,
married
mm-hmm.
to a white woman, sorry. So even though I come from, I think I spent most of my life in America and then Egypt. Egypt is a very different culture, and I still
Right,
have somewhat Egyptian culture-esque things, if I can put it that way. But I'm very
right.
much Westernized, if I can put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so is she. She's Afrikaans and English, but she's still also Westernized. So that culture kind of gels.
Yeah.
I I I don't know. I mean I've never tried. I don't know. I don't know what it would be like to date a black woman. Not that I'm against it. I've just never. I don't know.
No, I completely get that. It's sort of kind of the same for me as well. I mean, my culture is very I don't know, you can't really put it into a box. But as far as I go, I mean, I like tattoos and I listen to heavy metal music and just I'm very weird and very eccentric if you had to compare me to other people of my race. So that should give you a better idea of why I typically sway towards white men. Um and that's been going on for a very long time in my life. There was a time where I tried to think like these people, and I was like, maybe I am cutting myself off from this whole other world of just exploring all of the races. And I tried, and yeah, no, there's really no need to feel like you have to be a social justice warrior in your dating life. There's absolutely no need for that. Just focus on who you are attracted to. And if someone wants to call you racist for that, if that's it's so ridiculous. If someone wants to call you racist for wanting to date whoever you want to date, then that's not really a reflection of you. That says something more about them. I mean, how far gone do you have to be to call preference racist? I really cannot wrap my head around it. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Well, the interesting thing here is that again, if you're not dating outside your race, then you're racist. Like that's what this guy's trying to say. So you and I are not racist at this current time. Like
Wonderful.
according to his standard or this person's standard on Twitter, you and I are not racist.
And that is so ridiculous because even though, I am typically attracted to people of different races, I still get labeled racist. I think you also still get get labeled racist, as we saw with that, Nikki person
Mhm.
who, yeah, let's rather not. So what's the point? Nothing is going to please these people. You might as well just date whoever you want to, because at the end of the day, you're still going to be in trouble if you have the wrong opinions, if you're dating the wrong person, if you think this, if you think that. I mean, what's the point at the end of the day? Just live your life.
Exactly, and I think like going back to this whole culture thing, I don't mean to disrespect anyone. I mean, I love experiencing different cultures. I mean, Unati Kwaza has invited me to come to Kailicha and show me around Kailicha. I have no problem with that. As soon as the lockdown's over, I'm flipping going because she made it sound so
Right.
nice, and I want to experience that stuff. You know, I love. I lived in Egypt for 9 years. It made me appreciate other cultures. I may not have liked Egypt, but I still can appreciate other cultures. I can. I find it very interesting to speak to someone and be like, oh, why do you do things this way, or why do you guys like doing this, or where did this stereotype come from, and stuff like that. I mean, I'm going to start a series soon where I'm going to be speaking to different people from different backgrounds and ethnic groups who can hopefully explain very well their culture, you know, like the colored culture. I'm doing one with Macau now where he's explaining the Afrikaans culture. And that to me is fascinating stuff. And just because I choose to only date white women, for example, or marry a white woman or whatever, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that I'm not willing to date a colored one or a black or an Indian. Um,
Exactly.
I've actually in my lifetime dated a lot of different ethnic groups, Lebanese, Egyptian, Spanish, South African, obviously. And I don't know. I don't think colored women like me,
Wow.
to be honest.
What makes you think that?
Well, I mean, before I got married and when I was single, I never dated a colored woman, and I just never had the opportunity, if I could put it that way. I don't mean to sound, you know, sexist or anything like that. I'm being honest. I don't think they like me. I don't know. Maybe it's the hair. I don't know.
That
Yeah.
that's kind of understandable because colored women tend to have, that type of attitude. So I can kind of understand that. In general, though, like I said, even even in terms of culture, um, since you're in control of your dating life, you get to control into which culture you want to marry, And it's not even to say that someone's culture is keeping you from dating them. That has certainly never been the case with me. As you said, I also love to explore other cultures. But culture definitely has a direct influence on the person that you're dating, right?
Mm.
So if if you are naturally more attracted to a certain group of people, um, then that doesn't necessarily say anything about um, you being a bigot, not wanting to engage with certain cultures. More of like you just don't want to bring that culture into your life on such an intimate level. Like you can be friends with pretty much everyone, but that doesn't mean, I mean, to like enter into a marriage means that you also basically have to subscribe to most of the things that that person believes in, right? And if you guys don't share certain cultural aspects, then I mean that's okay. It's not a problem. And what I don't like is that when if you date someone outside of your culture or outside of your race, and that somehow makes you, less colored or less black or less engaged with your culture. I don't buy into that at all. Like who I'm dating, my coloredness does not depend on who I'm dating. I, that is bigoted and racist in my opinion.
Yeah, I've seen that
Oh,
where people like for example African women or colored ladies get upset when they see someone uh, dating a different race. What is that? Why? I mean, do you have any female friends that have once complained to you and been like, I don't understand how this guy can do that. I mean, why is he dating a white chick?
well, I mean, I've certainly had many people of my own race have a lot of things to say about um, how I tend to only, you know, have white people in my love life. Like, for example, one time, um, I think this was a white girl though. I can't really remember, but I was having a debate or like an argument with her. Um, and she was talking. She was talking about the fact how if I date a white man, then there will inherently be a power imbalance because he's white, and therefore his skin color gives him this idea that he is supreme over me. Um, so I was trying to explain to her that no, actually, my skin color does not really get in the way of us. Like he's completely accepting of my skin, and sometimes he lovingly, um, sometimes he would, how can I say, not necessarily give me nicknames. I mean, okay, this is a bit too far, but like one thing that like has been done is my skin color gets compared to caramel, right? So I brought that up to her, and she was like, "You're a fetish to him, actually, if he does that." And I can't. That blows my mind. I don't know. I don't know how to respond to these people because they think that they are in the camp of anti-racism. How do you tell me, a colored woman, that I'm a fetish to my white boyfriend because he sometimes refers to my skin color as caramel? What?
All right, wait. That can sometimes be the case. There are people that have fetishes in general, so there. I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case in some cases, but not all.
You cannot just you cannot just tell someone who is in a relationship with someone without any other knowledge of what their love life looks like. Just tell them, well, actually, hmm, I think you're a fetish to this white man because he. Uh,
Oh man, that's ridiculous.
I really cannot.
I'm just gonna go to some of the comments here. Your Justin has said, "I remember reading something about their argument on this. Is essentially that white people are racist for not dating out of their race, but if a person of color don't, it's because they're protecting themselves from racism."
Mm,
And he
yeah.
continues by saying, so a white person dating a person of color isn't racist. But a person of color choosing to date a white person means they're opening themselves up to racism. Logic.
Yeah. That was something else that we saw on Twitter.
Yeah.
Makes absolutely zero sense. Zero sense.
I mean, this hate towards. I mean, just to assume like this comment really that Justin gave nothing. I mean, he's just relaying what was said. Um,
Yeah.
the whole idea that if a person of color is dating a white person opens them up to racism. I mean, what utter. Let me tell you something. I'm dating. I'm married. I'm married to a white woman. I have never ever felt any. She treats me like a human being. She treats me. She
Right.
loves me. We have an awesome relationship. We're happily married, and there's no issues there. If anything, we often speak about comments like what this person was saying about how ridiculous it is. Um, and yeah, Robin Hassan says, I have opinions. Well, share them.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
She says, I don't discriminate. Dated mostly out of my race, and my fiance is Puerto Rican. Oh, that's nice. He must be a good dancer. Yes. Um, the race culture doesn't matter. What matters is love. It depends on the individual. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Puerto Rican, how awesome is that? I mean, the culture that Puerto Ricans have is awesome. The food is good. I know that. They flip and love their food. They're like
Right.
the Greeks and all this stuff. They just very welcoming people, and I think like everyone always likes to say that their culture is very welcoming. Like colored people are always very welcoming. We're gonna dish out food for you and stuff like that. I think that's a common thing just with human beings. Like
Right.
Egyptians are also very welcoming. Like if you go to them for dinner, they have like a whole spread out for you and stuff like that. There's a lot of similarities with Mexicans, Germans, Mexicans, Egyptians, and coloreds. Like there's a lot of similarities in those cultures.
What are you talking about? I don't think colors are very welcoming.
I've been to a few colored parties and houses. They're very welcoming. At least the coloreds I know.
Really,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Okay.
What?
Tell me something I don't know.
I don't want to be accused of racism because that's possible as well. I can be racist towards my own race. No, I'm actually kidding. My parents are definitely very welcoming. I mean, they're fantastic people, just wonderful people. But I mean, other people in my family, you know what? Actually, no, let's not go there. I'm gonna get into trouble.
Like I think something has to be said about the whole generation thing. So I mean, obviously the elder
That too.
generation have different beliefs, maybe
Yeah,
more in touch with tradition, and like they're very um, they cling on to that tradition, and rightfully so. I mean, it's the same. Your great grandmother would have had certain traditions that maybe your grandmother doesn't do now, stuff like that. Every generation it evolves and changes. So
absolutely.
I mean,
I was also going to say that like it depends. Like I said, I don't want to sound racist and I don't want to sound like I'm throwing my own race under the bus, but I have to be honest. I was also going to say that they're like the how welcoming a colored family is willing to be sometimes does depend on what race you are. People don't want to hear this, but I have to be honest because colored people can be the most vicious and the most racist. Like it'll actually blow your mind. Um
yeah, but you
so
see,
and most
Mexicans are the
yeah.
same. Like I know Mexican ladies.
Oh really?
Yeah, like if if there are any Mexicans that ever watch this, please comment in the section below and tell me how true it is that if a Mexican finds like a Mexican woman finds a Mexican man dating a white, for example, they freak out in the same way like you've been saying with your experience.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of similarities. That's what blows my mind is that there's so many similarities. There are so many similarities, and yet we are striving to create more divide. Saying things like, "Yeah, but if you're white and and you date outside your race, you're not racist." But if see like that doesn't make sense. So if a white dates outside of their race, they're not racist, which
Yes.
means they're dating a person of color. But
Yes.
then that person of color is subjecting themselves to racism. But yet the white person isn't racist.
You were trying to make sense out of something that is not logical in the slightest. What's even funny about this is that when so I met Justin when I was 16, I think. Or we were 15 around there and we're like 21 now. So,
High school
um
sweethearts.
I guess you could say that. So in the second year of like us knowing each other, um we both were liberals, right? But obviously we never spoke about politics though. So in my final year of high school was when I made the switch. Um, and when I was busy on my journey on my way to the right side, um, Justin was very like, how can I say? He was still very much the opposite. So, for example, Black Lives Matter was a thing during that time. He was in favor of them. I had a lot to say about Islam. He would shut me up every time. He was very much into, well, not into feminism, but he could. Um, I would argue with him about the wage gap, and then stuff like that. He used to be pro-abortion, while I was pro-life while I became pro-life at that time. So like that was weird that me, the colored, became a right winger, and I want to say that I was a bit radical at the time. I was a bit extreme, while Justin was very much a lefty. Yet he is subjecting me to racism. I, these things don't make sense.
Yeah, but you see, when it comes to lefties, and Justin, I'm not saying that you're like this now. I'm just saying in general, like, or not in general, but like some of them, what they like to do
Yeah.
is they say, "Yeah, but I recognize my racism, so it's okay." I'm not saying Justin did that. Justin, you sound like a great guy, but I'm just saying. Um,
That is
you,
so that makes me nauseous, honestly. I recognize my racism. Okay, so now you're a good person. Well done. What?
Have you not heard that argument before?
Me too. Me too.
All right, so Yanni has a question. I'm not sure what he's trying to say, but I'm going to try and read it as clearly as I can. Very interesting
Mhm.
topic. So, what about ethnicity? How is that seen from a multiracial, multicultural? Is multi ethnicity similar?
Well,
I'm gonna say yes.
pretty much. Um. Yes, it is. Different ethnicities have different cultures, so it would be the same thing.
Mm, exactly. I think so.
If that is what he's trying to ask.
uh, here we go. Charnay saying, I think who you end up dating is dependent on the crowds you associate with. If my crowd is majority black, colored people, then I'm most likely to end up dating a black or a colored person. That's also true, but that again goes
Hmm.
with culture and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. I guess for me, it's I've been, yeah, I don't know, but I can see how that could, yes, definitely influence your choice in a significant other, because of the people you hang around with. Absolutely. I think.
Especially in 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 our context, because I mean, we still live in areas that are not so much segregated because it's not, enforced by law, but I live in a colored area. So does Shanae. Justin lives in a very, 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 very white area. It's a miracle that him and I are even together. Um, but you you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So like not many people are in areas that are very diverse, even though our country is a very diverse place. This is unfortunately one of the very unfortunate effects um, of apartheid. Um, there's not really much that we can do about it right now.
Mm.
It's not like we can take my neighborhood and put it on the other side of the train tracks and just,
Yeah.
hey, we're all diverse now. That's not really how it works. So I definitely get what Shanae is saying. It does work that way. It really does. It depends on who is around you, because that's the people who you get to pick from, unless you go for like online dating. And that's typically what people do when they want to, I don't want to say date outside of their race, but I
Have
don't know, like
have more options.
not just have more options, yes, that too, but also I don't want to sound rude. Like, do the interracial thing, um, but kind of for the wrong reasons as well, if you know what I mean. Um, People think that if you're dating someone of a different race, then you're somehow a better person.
Mm, that is true. Yeah.
No, you're not actually. That's really not how it works. And you date someone because you love them. I don't understand why we are bringing politics into relationships.
Well, let me ask you something. When you and Justin first met, right? Obviously in high school. Um, at what point did you realize, or what point did maybe race came into it? I mean, like for example, um, let me see if I can think of an example with my relationship. So, okay, here's a discussion I had once with my wife. So, um, she doesn't realize that sometimes when we walk together in a public area that we're being stared at,
Oh
for
yeah.
example, you know.
Right.
And then that's
Yeah.
when that whole conversation of, yo, do you think like people are judging us because we're, interracial, whatever. So that's when the whole idea of race started. Before then, I had never even thought of it. Like she was a woman I love, she loves me, we're dating. Never ever
Right.
discussed skin or anything
Right.
like that.
I get
Until
you.
we noticed that. So did the same thing happen for you, or did you know right from the beginning, like, this is a white guy, I'm gonna get shit for it, but fuck it.
So I'd have to use a different example from Justin, because Justin and I are very we met online, right? And he lives in Gauteng. I live in the Western Cape. So we met when we were 16, and the first time we had met in person was 2 years after that. So like to call him my boyfriend is not technically correct because we aren't. I mean, long distance is
Hard.
like impossible, and yeah, and we agreed that like there's not that there's no point, but it's difficult. I mean, we don't want to limit each other, if that makes sense. But we're still extremely close and best friends. But yeah, complicated, an entanglement, I guess you could say. So anyway, so when we met, right? Him and I met at the airport in Johannesburg. Um, and wow, that was overwhelming. So I walked straight to him when I saw him, or no, rather he walked to me, right? And there was a massive crowd of people, obviously people just waiting for their families. So we linked up and then we kind of moved to the side because we were in everyone's way. And then um we were talking, and then when we looked back again at the crowd of people, they were all staring at us. All of them just staring straight at us. After that we like went for lunch at a Ocean Basket. While we were sitting at the bar counter, people were still staring at us. I mean, people were basically tripping over their feet to look at us. It was so weird. And that's not really a thing over here. I mean, if I compare that to my previous white boyfriend, um, like I dated this guy who was Polish, and we every weekend we went to like this little West Coast town, very small, very, very, very white Afrikaans, extremely. And he's Polish and I'm colored. So yeah, but anyway, we went there every weekend, and there no one cared, which is so like extremely weird because it's a bunch of elderly, like Afrikaans white people, but they didn't bat an eye. I've mostly had the same experience in Cape Town because I feel like Cape Town is a bit more progressive than places in Gauteng. Gauteng is a bit. I don't. Maybe I just don't like Johannesburg and Pretoria because I don't like those places. I'll be honest. I love Cape Town too much. But like in general, I don't mind it. It doesn't really bother me. I mean, maybe that's also because when I see two people who are interracial, I also look. Not because I'm like ill, but because, you know, I like seeing it. It makes me happy. Not that I would, encourage people to do it, but I think it's pretty adorable.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's just a nice thing to see that people can, not let race and culture get in the way of
absolutely.
love. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. I mean, again, this is why, like, when people talk about these topics, like, oh yeah, well, if you're not in an interrelational relationship, then you're racist. Like, it's like, stop. Just stop. Um,
Exactly.
it's like, again, like you said, making love life political in a sense. We don't need that right now.
Absolutely.
We don't need that garbage. So I just want to go back to the comments. T virus. That's a Resident Evil thing. And we thought these liberals were gonna be open and forward thinking, but actually they seem to be the most intolerant of people with opinions that differ from theirs. Yep. It's that whole thing of you are free to think as long as you think my way.
Right. Exactly.
Um, and then there was a comment here I wanted to DYL. Do you think this approach to the subject is the most convincing? I feel like being defensive only shows acceptance towards the dichotomy of the position, of the opposition, sorry.
So
Yeah.
what exactly is he trying to ask? Is he like sorry, Dylan, but like is he saying that like we're being a bit too combative about the subject, or um
Well, here he
I don't understand.
continues. I think being on the defensive about this type of thing is important. It's not wrong to be monoracial in relationships, and interracial relationships have their unique troubles and gifts. Yeah, well, absolutely.
Yeah,
So I'm a,
that's true.
your previous
It's
comment there is
interesting that
confusing.
it's very interesting that he would ask that because Dylan is actually wow. A very interesting story. Dylan is American. Right? And his
Hello, fellow
girlfriend is
Americans.
also American. Um Dylan is white. Um I guess he's part Norwegian. He can correct me on this. And his girlfriend is Jewish Black American, right? So when I remember when Dylan and his girlfriend were not together yet, and I was him and I had a whole debate about this, and he was talking about how he wants to date a white Norwegian woman because that's just what Dylan wanted to do, and he wanted to have white babies and all that. And
He
I
says
remember him
full
and I argued about
Scandinavian, by the way.
okay, whatever, Dylan. Anyway, I remember like literally 3 days after him and I had that debate or argument, he started falling in love with Michaela. And Justin and I were like, wow, okay, we literally told you so. That was because we knew that was going to happen. That's what usually happens with people that are extremely set on wanting to preserve their race. I don't really have an issue with it. I really don't. But in Dylan's case, we all kind of saw that coming, especially considering the way he was arguing about it, and I don't know, the whole situation was just kind of comical. Speaking of that, like also the problem with because I've also dated white guys whose parents hated me, absolutely hated me.
Oh, wow.
So speaking of that, like the same problem comes in with people who like I can understand if that is your own opinion and you want to continue to date within your race for purposes of, you know, not race mixing. Sure. If that's what you want to do, then that's fine. But it becomes a problem when you enforce your will onto your children as
Mm.
well. Because I saw what effect that had on this this one guy I was dating. His father used to work for the apartheid government. So he was yeah, that wasn't pretty. And I remember when
Sure.
he told me
Tough sell.
he had to
That's a tough sell. I'm sorry. I had to.
whatever, Joe. I remember when he had to tell his father that he's dating a colored girl, and his father basically beat him.
What?
Didn't take it. Yeah, these things happens often. Even in high school, I dated another white guy. Like I said, I've done this many times before. I dated like my best friend's brother in high school, right? And I remember there was one time at school when and her and I were talking, and he was there as well. But then she started talking to him, and I briefly overheard this part where she told him, "But you know that you can't bring Dee home with you because mom and dad will have an issue with that."
Mm.
And then they were basically saying that if I want to come sleep over, then I have to, basically pretend as if I don't care about his presence. I had to only focus on my best friend. These things happen as well, and
But couldn't it
that's
also
a
have been because
problem.
you were young? I mean,
No, 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 no. Absolutely not. I promise you, it was because of my race. I promise you this. It
wow,
really was. Yeah.
that's sad. I think this might tie in a bit, but sorry. Teddy Frazier says, I think that while friend crowds do impact or influence the decision, it really stems from how you're raised, I think. I was raised with the view of judging people on their character, not their skin color. And I think that ties in with what you're saying now. People that are, or children, parents that are discouraging their children from, oh, you can't date a black man, or you can't date a black woman or a colored woman, whatever.
Yeah.
That's definitely not helping. And at the same time, I don't want to. I'm not saying that I condone this behavior, but I understand the behavior. I do understand
Hmm.
it. I don't condone it. Because again, it comes back to what I tell people a lot. Like, my experience with Egyptians was terrible, but that was my experience. I
Right.
probably would have never married an Egyptian because of my experience with them. Doesn't mean that I hate them in terms of like
Right.
I'm a racist and I think they should all die. Absolutely not. Like I just said, they're very welcoming people and I understand their culture and I appreciate their culture and I love their history. I'm a big fan of the pyramids and pharaohs and their history is amazing. Um, my experience with them, what I went through, has put me in a position where I'm always on the offense when I meet one. Unfortunately, I don't like being that way, but I can't help it. And I think with the history of South Africa, apartheid, and all that stuff, certain races are just on the offensive when they meet each other. And I think having healthy discussions like this, no matter how difficult they
Yeah.
are to have, helps tear down that barrier. You know,
Exactly.
for example, if there's any parents watching this or ever watch this, you know, if your child wants to date outside their race, don't discourage them. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I know, I was a kid, you were a kid. When a kid wants to do something, we're gonna find a way to do it. Like,
Exactly. Exactly.
it's like the smoking ban and now the alcohol ban. Like, we're gonna find a way to smoke and we're gonna find a way to drink. Like, you can't. It's the
And
whole
that will
Romeo and
happen.
Juliet thing. You know.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to happen. Absolutely. There's no point. But also like as you said, um if if there are people who like still think this way and think that their kids shouldn't be dating outside of their race, the answer to that definitely isn't to just call someone a racist. Um, that's a bit counterproductive. Um, and that's really what I try to remind myself. I know that on Twitter, I can be a bit extreme sometimes because I I I don't wash my mouth very well or my fingers or whatever. Um, but I I look up to people in history who have tried to who have tried to achieve their goals of anti-racism through peaceful measures, you
Mm.
know? I mean, if you look at Mr. what's his name? Mr. I think his name is Daryl Davis. Daryl, I think is his name. Yeah, but he's someone who managed to convert, I think, 200 KKK members simply by being friends with them. And by the time they leave the clan, they hand over their robes to him, and he's planning on opening a whole museum um, full of all these KKK objects from which he's gotten from previous clan members. And I think that is just amazing. He has managed to get so many clan members back in touch with their families, because people like that tends to happen. Their families would abandon them because they just can't accept that one of their own, like their father or their brother, chose to be a part of the KKK. And Daryl Davis, I don't. It really blows my mind how like you can voluntarily decide to be friends with a racist, but that comes from when you. I don't want to say that when you're not offended, but I mean that's really what it is.
Mm.
When someone says something racist to me, or when someone calls me the K word, or anything like that, I I don't get outraged. It doesn't affect me.
Mm.
What does affect me is when and I know that Justin and I hadn't had a debate about this as well. What does affect me is when my friends or my family don't speak out against blatant racism,
Mm.
because then I don't really feel protected, if that makes sense. And I also don't like this. I also don't agree with this idea that we're just supposed to let racism go by us, because that's somehow supposed to achieve anything, simply because we are on the side of not getting offended and not getting outraged. There's if When you come into contact with someone that's racist, no, you don't have to be offended and you don't have to be outraged. All you have to do is have a conversation with that person, and that's what we really have to do with each other. Instead of throwing out these buzzwords and these slogans like Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter, it's not necessary. We are speaking over each other.
Mm.
Can we please just start with productive conversation and see where it leads from there, instead of just going all out and saying that this person is a racist and you're a bigot and you want white people to die? And it's not productive. And that is the mindset of someone who doesn't really want to save people from this cult of leftist bullshit, because that's really what it is.
It's far left,
And
by the way. Lefty. There have been there. No, that's true. There have been lefty people that I can get along with, and I share common
oh, of
like.
course,
There people keep on
absolutely.
when when I say I'm a centrist, like I really am. Like I have conservative beliefs and I have liberal beliefs, and they balance out. So
Absolutely.
I can have a conversation with a lefty and have a very productive conversation and a nice debate about certain views and aspects of politics and stuff like that, which is always fun to have. But at the same time, that lefty is prepared to understand where I'm coming from, and be like, and then we can end the conversation on, even if we don't agree, we can end the conversation by saying, you know what, I get where you're coming from. You're not a bad person. uh, you know, we're just having a discussion. I appreciate you more now because I get to know you, and I know where my boundaries are, and we can get along now. That's a
Exactly.
healthy discussion, and the same applies
That's
with
what makes it
racism.
productive.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
and
When you're willing to at least try to understand where the other person is coming from. If I look at my own friends, the one friend who I have the most productive talks with surrounding politics is someone that is on the left. Um, which is just, I mean, I guess it makes sense because her and I guess maybe I am more invested into politics, but she is as well, as compared to my other friends. And what's so funny about that is that when her and I have debates and our friends are around, right? They are more likely to side with her because I don't know, I guess her opinions are a
populist.
bit more, yeah, and trendy and whatever. But when she's gone, right? When she's not there, it's amazing how many of them agree with me. It really is. But as
Cancel
soon
culture.
as
That's
she's
the
back,
thing.
literally, exactly. But it's ridiculous because I mean, she wouldn't cancel them. You know what I mean? Like she's friends with me. What's so funny is that I have this friend, his name is Nathan. Um, Whenever we're like at, like, let's say a party or any type of gathering, or whenever they whenever they're trying to introduce a new person to me, right? One of the first things that Nathan would mention is that, hey, did you know that like Dee actually supports Trump? I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like seriously?
Oh man.
Out of all the things you could say.
Here's the thing though. Okay, wait. Now, before we get into that, that's a whole nother can of worms. Okay, so Dylan says, but what I was getting at is that being defensive and trying to say I'm not racist, etc., is just letting them control the conversation. You should be on the offensive on all these types of people you've been speaking of, making them justify their position, not the other way around, which is exactly what we were saying now. Just
Oh,
having
right.
a
Yes.
conversation, finding common ground with one another, because that's the thing. I think essentially, and I've been telling a lot of people this, essentially, no matter where you are on the political spectrum of things, everybody wants to live a good life. And what I mean by that
Yeah,
is
it's
have a job so that they can pay for shit and pay for their family and or like pay, support the family,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to buy whatever it is they want to buy. Faith. So whether you're, and when I say faith, whether you're atheist or whatever, there's some kind of belief system. There's a moral code, a moral compass that you have. There are certain things
Right.
that you abide by in life. Whether it be as simple as I'm just going to be a good person all the time and be kind to one another, then that's fine. Some kind of faith or belief to live by. And then, of course, being proud of either your heritage or country in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
So, flag. These are things that Big Daddy Liberty stands by. And when you speak
Yeah.
to the everyday person, no matter where they stand, no matter what ethnic group they come from, no matter who they are, they agree that they want that. And that's a very common foundation that we can all agree with. And that's that right there. The moment we start to realize that is when we'll break down all these other barriers. We want the same thing. So why are we having
Absolutely.
these ridiculous discussions about racism where there isn't any?
Exactly. Trying to create racism, basically.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what happens. The only time when racism needs to be brought up is when you are trying to actively call out racism, where there is racism though. And there has to be racism because people the the definition of racism is we're going into some murky waters with changing meanings of words
Mm.
because now at this point it's funny because racism can mean so many different things at this point, but black people are also exempt from this new definition of
No,
racism.
I call bullshit because racism
Of
is racism, and all these words that they've now tried to like these new words like systematic racism and all this stuff and like
yeah.
white privilege and blah blah blah, all falls under the
Ugh,
umbrella of racism. All of it, all of it. So you can lead it. It goes back to racism. So if it comes from there,
exactly.
it is that. So J.C. McFarland says, but those on the left don't like to debate. Yes, some of them. Some of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually the radical left that don't like to debate. You'll never get any, but it's the same with the radical right. Like the radical right also don't like to debate. So like anybody,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Here's the funny thing. Like me and Dee would be considered radical right because we're not on the left.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People think I'm so problematic, which is just what about me is problematic? People,
And I don't know. Here's an interesting question before I read the next comment. Where are you right now on the political scale, in your opinion?
me.
Yeah.
That's difficult to answer because sometimes I consider myself moderate. Sometimes I think I'm a bit too far right.
Mm.
Um, I would just say that I'm a right winger. I'm definitely on the. Well, I don't want. Yes, I am. I am. I am a conservative. I'm sticking to this. I am because I can also say that like I'm a right leaning centrist, but I don't think that would. I don't feel that. No, I don't. So I'm just gonna say that I am a right winger. I think that most of my political opinions would put me on the right side of the spectrum. So yeah.
Cool. You do know that being a conservative doesn't necessarily mean that you're right, though. Like right wing.
I mean, I mean it doesn't, but like typically that is where being a conservative would land you
Yes.
on the spectrum. Most cases, it would land you on the right.
I'm just saying, like you could be conservative, but more center towards the center. You know. I think if you haven't done it yet, the Google Compass political compass thing. Just Google.
I have done.
And where did you
I did
fall?
it yesterday.
And where did you
I
fall?
did it yesterday. I was like, so it's it was wait, the top is fascism, right? And then the bottom is
Authoritarian. I think
yeah, and then the two sides are just
left and
right
right, and
and
then
left, right?
liberal at the bottom. I think. Yeah, liberalism is at the bottom.
Yeah, so uh, I was very close to the center, but I was on the right and I was more to the bottom.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I was like
Exactly.
almost dead on center. Like,
Really?
yeah, slightly to the right. Slightly. Just, yeah.
Wow.
It's an interesting, but I need to take the test again. I hear that if the more you take it, the you get different things. I guess it depends on your mood of the day.
There
'Cause
were different oh. Different results. Okay,
yeah.
I get that.
Okay, so we have 5 minutes left. I can't believe the hour went by so quickly. And I
Oh my
have to end it soon
God.
because I have another show at 8:30. Which, by the way, seeing as we're talking about that, guys that are listening, please, if you're available and you want to, please tune into that. It is with a fellow comedian. His name is Lunga Tsuka. Very funny guy, but we're going to be chatting about something very interesting, which is I'm just looking for the banner to put it up because I want you guys to see who I'm talking about. At 8:30, I'm going to be talking with this guy. He brought up an interesting topic, which I thought we should talk about, seeing as both him and I are performers. Influencers versus um, performers. So the differences between the two, some of the problems that influencers may have on the entertainment industry, and yeah, that's going to be a very interesting conversation. We're going to see where that goes. So if you guys want to join me at 8:30 for that, please do. Again, you can ask questions, and yeah, we can get to know one another. So uh, let's see here. Polly says, thank you for joining, Polly. Love Dee's school of thought. She's on point. Robin Hassan saying facts. Um, I don't see the right participating in cancel culture. Isn't this a thing of the left? Actually, the right does. The
The
far
right
right,
does.
yeah, the far right does.
Especially now, there's like this new trend where like people are thinking that we have to play by the left rules.
Mm,
Why are we doing that?
yeah,
Don't do that.
yeah. That's why, like, a lot of people have come out and said that my video about Nikki has caused cancel culture. And I'm like, I didn't tell anyone to cancel Nikki. I just told my story. That's all I did. Find in that video where I say, go cancel her. I didn't. Did not once say that. Because I don't believe in it. I don't want her to lose her job. Especially at a time like this. But yeah. Robin Hassan saying, you're right, Joe. Most people want to live their lives freely and be left alone. Exactly. That's what Big Daddy Liberty says. And there's a lot of other comments. Um, let's see here. Here's a question. Have you considered classical liberal? They're asking you.
Me?
Yeah.
No. I have actually. That's a lie. That's a lie. I have. I have. But I was not. No. No. For me, I mean, labels don't matter that much, but I just feel more comfortable sticking to conservative because I really think that's where I am at, especially socially as well. Definitely. So that's where I will keep it.
Cool.
Right winger conservative. Yeah.
That was a question from Dwayne, who also said, all of us know we want the same thing, but we disagree on how to get there.
Mm.
That is what communism, social democracy, liberalism, and conservative nationalism is about. Different solutions for the same problem. I can't disagree with that. That's a very open-minded way of
Yeah.
looking at it. When you're too far left, everyone seems like right wing at Joe Emilio. Yep. It's like Gareth Cliff said, if anything that is right of Nancy Pelosi is just unacceptable. I love that line.
That's so true.
It was very good. Cool. So we are in the final minute, which means we do have to say goodbye. And I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who tuned in tonight. I feel like we had a good discussion. I don't know if there's more to talk about, but if there is, look, I'm going to have you back on the show. That's for sure. We can
That's
definitely talk about other things. I like having. I think maybe I don't know. We'll chat in the DMs and see what other topics we can talk about. But I think this was a good topic to have. I really enjoyed it. Is there anything
I
you want to
definitely enjoyed
say?
it.
Is there anything you want to say to
Um,
the viewers?
just thank you for watching me. I don't why anyone would take time out of the day to watch me. I don't really understand, but I kind of get it because I'm talking to Joe and Joe is awesome, so it makes sense. Just really thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry for being in this situation where my lighting sucks. It's because ESCOM. So, yeah. But really thank you, Joe. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you, Dee, for joining me. Like I said, I'm definitely going to have you back. We'll discuss other things. Everyone's saying great discussion, and they want to see more. So let's find something on Twitter to to talk about.
Let's,
There's so much.
I think that like what would be fun is if we can find something that we disagree on, and then maybe we can have a
Absolutely.
debate,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes. Yes. Let's do it. Abortion.
Okay. Hey, absolutely perfect.
People are not gonna like the way I view abortion.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
But yeah, I think that's something to talk about, absolutely. And yeah, okay, guys, I've got to get ready for my next show, so please tune me. Please join me on the show, and we'll have a nice discussion. Once again, this was Dee Martin, and her details, her Twitter details. Please go follow her, please. I love how outspoken she is. She's speaking truth, and this is a woman of law. She's studying law. We don't know where she's going to go yet. I maybe political law. I don't know, but we'll see.
I might. I really might. I
Yeah,
really might.
I
Yeah.
think you might do very well there. So
You.
please support her. Please follow her. She's a little funny. And Jade, if you ever watch this, and anyone who knows us will know which Jade I'm talking about.
Why is Jade playing so hard to get? I don't understand.
She's
Just come on
shy.
the show.
She's shy. She's stage. She has stage fright.
Jade is shy.
I know, right? I know, right? I know. I know. I know. I know.
Mind blown.
I'll put this out there. In order to make or maybe to get Jade a little bit more comfortable with this, all right? We do the three of us on a stream.
That would be so much fun. That would be fantastic.
So at least Jade doesn't feel alone or anything like that. Doesn't
Yeah,
feel like she
she
has to
does.
constantly talk. So
Be
ease
fun.
her into it, you know. So yeah, there you go, Jade. I would love to have you on the show with Dee, and we can maybe talk about anything. And here's one even better, Jade. If you come onto the stream, I'll let you choose the topic. Come on.
Very.
Anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in once again. Please subscribe to my channel. Remember, there's that tattoo challenge that I've been given out. Don't forget to go check that out. Dee, once again, thank you so much for joining me. Don't go off just yet. I'll give you a proper goodbye when I'm off the air. As for everyone else, if I don't see you at the next show, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.